pledge to the United States.
Everybody stand, please. Place the flag and salute. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next on the agenda is introduction of delegation members. We'll just go down looking at each.
Representative Thomas Beach, House District 10.
My name is Bill Tyler, represent District 5, which is easy.
I'm Jerry Carter, I represent District 3, which is Central, Clemson, 6 Mile, and Doris.
I'm David Hyde, I have House District 4, Pickens, Liberty, Bakersfield, Pumpkintown, and that area.
Rex Rice, Senate District 2, which is most of Pickens County with the exception of the Clemson area. Thomas Alexander has Clemson, and he is not able to be here.
All right, next on the agenda is introduction of judicial candidates, and I have the Bruce Bannister approach. I would advise introducing yourself, and then after everybody's finished, leave it. We know y'all are coming from all across the state, so we appreciate you coming and showing your face and giving us a name, a face with a name. We do have, I'll put this mic down and give it to the first person, but no particular order, just please introduce yourself and then go about your business.
Okay, so we don't. My name's Andy Potter. I'm from Anderson. I'm running for Family Court Seat 1 for the 10th Judicial Circuit, which is our Anderson residency.
Good evening and thank you. My name is Vernon Dunbar. I live here in Greenville. I live in Greenville and I'm running for the Circuit Court seat in Greenville County, resident seat 4. And again, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Judge Jessica Salvini. I'm one of your family court judges in Greenville, and I'm running for Letitia Verdon's seat 2 in the 13th Circuit. It's good to see y'all.
My name is Christopher Bradley. I'm running for Circuit Court's at-large seat 16, which will be vacated by Judge Hawk when he retires next year. I'm from Batesburg, Leesville, and office in Saluda.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Dan Bolleo from Rock Hill, and I'm running for the at-large Circuit Court, seat 4.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Doty. I'm from Bishopville, and I am running for the 3rd Circuit residency that will be vacated by Judge Cochran on his retirement next year.
Good evening. My name is Billy McGee. I'm a lawyer from Columbia, South Carolina, and I am running for the at-large seat number 8, which is being vacated by Judge Craig Brown stepping out.
Good evening, I'm Ken Gibson. I am a lawyer practicing out of Greenville. I am running for the resident circuit seat 13, seat 4, which will be vacated by Judge Kendall upon his retirement. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Bruce Wallace. I'm a Charleston lawyer. I'm running for circuit seat number 8 as well, and happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Good evening, my name is Will Grove. I'm running for Circuit Court, 13th Judicial Circuit, seat 4.
Good evening, my name is Jonathan Hammond. I'm not currently running for a seat, but I am interested in running for Family Court when a seat becomes available at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Hey there, thank you for having us. I'm Danielle Mitchell. I'm also not currently a candidate, but I am a practicing family court lawyer in the upstate, but based in Greenville. Thanks for having us.
Hi there, my name is Melanie McCullough-Yanapian. My paternal line hails from Pumpkintown, and I am running for Letitia Verdon's seat as well. That would be 13th Circuit, seat 2.
Good evening, I'm Sandra Johnson Scott, and I am also, like half of the room, running for the seat to be vacated by Judge Kendall next year, and that's the 13th Judicial Circuit, resident seat number 4.
Good afternoon. I'm Milton Kempson. I currently sit on the South Carolina Administrative Law Court.
I'm running for Circuit Court at large, seat 11. That's the seat that was formerly held by Judge Allison. We thank you for allowing us to speak.
Good evening, my name is Ike Johnson. I am a municipal judge in the city of Greer. I'm also a municipal judge in the town of, it's a small hamlet, Graycourt. Formerly, I was a municipal judge in Travelers Rest and Fountain Inn. I am running for circuit seat number 4 in the 13th Judicial Circuit that will be vacated by Judge Alex Kimmel. Thank you.
Hello, I'm William McMaster. I'm currently the Deputy Solicitor in the 13th Circuit. I'm running for Circuit Court, seat 4 at large, which will be vacated upon Judge Miller's retirement.
Good evening. Thank you, Ms. Chandler, for helping me get here. Good evening, gentlemen and attendees. My name is Justin T. Williams. I currently serve on the Public Service Commission. I'm running for seat 1, Circuit Court. It's a resident seat in Richland, Kershaw counties. Thank you for having me.
Good evening. I'm Whitney Harrison from Columbia, and I'm running for the Court of Appeals. I think I'm your final friend.
Y'all come by and see us. Yeah.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you all. We're now, Senator Rice is more comfortable with less attorneys in the room. While we're on candidates, I see some local candidates that have recently filed and like to.
How about y'all coming this way now that they've all gone?
Yes, I'll try to speak up as well.
We barely see y'all back there. Y'all come up this way.
I see some local candidates who recently filed and definitely want to give the opportunity to put a face to the name as well. If you would like to introduce yourself and tell the crowd.
Sure. There's a mic right there.
My name is Rick Tate, and I will be on the ballot November the 7th for Easily Combined Utilities Commission. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike Puckett, and I'm running for Ward 1 of Easily City Council.
Noticed it looked like Sunday morning at First Baptist Church was like a city. I'm running for mayor here and Easily. Appreciate your support. Thank you and have a great day. Appreciate the great job these guys are doing. Anyone else?
David, you gotta say your name.
Oh, David Cox. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. David Cox. Appreciate your support so much. Anyone else?
There's a couple more elected officials.
Yeah, elected officials, if you'll introduce yourself.
Alex Sayed, I sit on the county council, I represent Pickens.
Betty Harrison, I represent District 5 in the school board. I'm Amy Williams, representing District 7 in the school board.
I believe that is it. All right. We're moving to our business part of the agenda. We have some board applications that I believe we would like to approve. First up is Pickens County Board of Disabilities and Special Needs. We had 3 applicants, Susan Oliver, Chris Filkins, and Tammy Howell. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Let me clarify something. These individuals were submitted by the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs, Pickens County, is that correct? And we have advertised that on the website, the Pickens County website, as we were trying to advertise all these elected officials, appointed positions. So if anybody's interested, we need good candidates. And so if you want to serve, if you're not serving in something and you want to serve, let us know. Tiffany will put it on the website. Usually, what?
She has applications.
Applications are here also, so. Anyway, go ahead. We'll clarify that.
I still move that we accept these 3 nominees.
Representative Hyde makes a motion to accept the three. Do I have a second? Second by Representative Beach. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. The ayes have it. Now moving to Pickens County First Steps. For the public to know, we actually changed the law, and it became law just a month ago. We've had to put them in compliance, appointing new members to the Pickens County First Steps Board. Some of these, DSS, DHEC, Head Start, and the school district had to nominate within their agency. But the names submitted are Mr. Jeff Martin, George Hicks, Nicole Mathney, Victoria Tate, Faye Nichols, Liz Rampy, and John Schaefer. Those are 7 members. First, do we have any discussion?
Explain why we changed that law, just to get it. The primary reason for the change in the law was to make sure we were in compliance. The issue was that we had more people sitting on the board than we had appointed by elected officials. And so we have to have more members on the board that are appointed by elected officials than those that are appointed by an agency. So that is the reason for the change in law. I'll be glad, just trying to make sure you understand it. If there's any questions on it, I'd be glad to explain it in further detail. That's the nutshell on it.
All right, so do I have a motion for these 7 individuals to be placed on the Pickens County First Steps Board? Senator Rex, motion. Representative Carter gave a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. The ayes have it. Now quickly moving to the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources water rec fund request. All right, we have a request for $20,000.90. I'm sorry, $20,090. We have a proposal from Land Planning Associates, a civil engineering firm, for surveying, schematic plans, civil drawings, sketches, RFI responses, review of civil submittals, and shop drawings from contractor, punch list report, and permit closeout documentation. Those 3 tasks as they list are $20,090. Any discussion on this? As the it is the Illinois Water Access Improvement proposal. And again, this is coming from Pickens County Public Works Department. First, is there anybody from Land Planning Associates in the room? Looks like that is a no. Any discussion on this project?
Is it Illinois or what's the one?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to carry this on until we get a little more information.
The request is put in from Tyler Knight from the Parks and Recreation Department of Pickens County. And he stated that it's updating, from my understanding, they're wanting to update, with the raft. They want to start some project there.
All right, we have a motion to carry this over to find out more information on this proposal. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those against, nay. The ayes have
Mr.
it.
Chairman, I would like to add to that, maybe we'll take a vote on it, but once we get that information, that we can have a roll call vote done via internet.
So let's make a second motion after that, because I've got this in here. Senator Rice makes a motion to be able to approve the project by emails after we have received more information on this proposal. Is there a second? Representative Carter makes a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those against, nay. The ayes have it. All right, before we move into public comment period, I've mentioned that we would give a brief, just little highlighted bullet points of things that were accomplished in this first year. I think it's important to, since we ended the session, to tell you what the 5 of us on this table at least have been up to. I'll let them fill in any gaps or any things that they're specifically been working on, but for those who don't know, we're a General Assembly is every 2 years. The odd year in which we're in is always the first year of session, and any bill has to pass within those 2 years, or it dies and you have to resubmit. So we're just in that first year, and typically that first year is not as there's not as much passed because you are in that first year. The second year is when we realize we've got to pass this, or it will die. So there'll be, I guess, more next year. Always is. But the highlights for me, sitting on the budget committee, number one, budget was balanced. Number two, our reserves are the highest it's historically ever been. We have the lowest debt that historically have had. Our income tax, we decreased that a second year in a row. You may recall that we reduced it 0.5% last year, and this year was 0.1%. Road money has increased. Teacher pay has increased. Just have a note here, our average teacher pay since 2018-19 has increased from $45,773 to $55,104. Law enforcement pay increase, paid family leave for teachers in the district. The state recruited Scout Motors to Columbia. This kind of balances our state now with BMW, Sprinter, and now Scout in Columbia. And then also tuition on higher ed went further. I believe this was the fourth or fifth year. But those were my highlights. Anybody want to say additional things? You want to get in there? Yeah. Okay.
I think I was the representative of the mill on a lot of this stuff. I feel that my first year was been a very interesting experience as just a father from Piedmont. I would say there were a lot of things that we passed that I did want to get behind, but I don't think they went far enough. We passed certificate of need, for example. I sit on the medical subcommittee. I don't think it was strong enough. Constitutional carry, I don't think it was strong enough. School choice, I don't think it was strong enough. And I did vote against the budget. I think that growing the government by 13% from last year was a bad idea. But it's been an honor, and I'm very, very grateful to represent you and your values.
Yeah, it was a busy year. One of the things that I was especially impressed, we had a change in leadership this past year, so we had a new speaker of the House, Morris Smith from Sumter. I think he did an excellent job. He's been chairing Ways and Means for a few years. And then my seatmate became the majority leader, so there's a lot of influence with Davey here, and then having Thomas Alexander holding court over the Senate, so I appreciate that. I was pretty proud probably of the budget activity. I think there's so many things that we took care of. We took care of teachers, we took care of state employees, we took care of military, veterans, but we also put money in reserves. So it's interesting that we could spend the money but still be conservative in terms of being prepared for what may come down the road. Obviously, Scout Motors is a very, very big issue, and I think that's going to do a significant amount for South Carolina's economy, which continues to boom, which we're extremely happy about. So it's a good place to be, and there's an awful lot of people who want to be here. We want everybody to be here. So it was a good year.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. When we started out, our caucus set an agenda of basically five pillars that we felt that would bring South Carolina success. And when we started this process, we obviously were looking at a 2-year process to get these things accomplished in 2 years. But I believe that we've done all but one of them in 1 year. And so the speaker and I talked about having to go back and reshape that caucus agenda because we've basically taken care of 4 of the 5, so we'll have to add something to that. But it was a good year. State's doing well financially. People are moving here. We're the 3rd fastest growing state in the nation. People are definitely coming here. We look out our own windows and see that they're coming. We gotta somehow figure out how to do something about all those people who are coming here. If they want to be productive members of South Carolina, we probably open our arms to them and allow them to come in and do what we can. But we're also got to make sure we protect what we have in the way of natural resources, green spaces, those kind of things. Those are important things that we'll have to address, and I know they're being addressed at the local level, the county level, as well as the state level as well. I'll give you some quick figures. 27% of all South Carolina graduating seniors after college leave the state and don't come back. So you can see that we've got to find some way to make sure that they stay in South Carolina. One of the ways we did that is we funded a veterinary school at Clemson University. For the first time in the state of South Carolina, we have a veterinary school. And so in the past, what Clemson's strong in the vet program, and what's always happened is 3 other states have saved Clemson spots at their university for their students to go. And so I think there's been 19 or 21 students leave Clemson every year to go to one of these 3 states. So now with Clemson being able to have their own vet school, now we will turn around and be saving some spots for other states. What's happened is these 19 to 21 students that leave Clemson, they go to Mississippi State or Tuskegee or NC State, and when they go to one of those schools, they never come back because they've done their schooling, they've done their studies, they've done their things somewhere else. They don't come back to South Carolina to practice veterinary. So we hope that will increase some of those. Most of us in here probably have some kind of a small animal, a dog, cat, something. We need some good, solid veterinarians in this state. So we hope that will encourage that. Our unemployment's 3.5%. It's never going to be 0. I've had people say, "Why is it not 0?" Well, there's some people not going to work in a pie factory, so 3.5% is probably one of the lowest around. There's 2.5 jobs for every person looking for work. Just go outside and you'll trip over a help wanted sign trying to get to your car. And so there's 2.5 jobs for every person that's looking for work. This number is a little bit staggering to me, and I haven't completely verified it in the Department of Commerce, but they said 40% of eligible workers are not working right now. We all know what's going on. People trying to find workers everywhere. I talked to a gentleman today. His company said they'd hire 75 people right now in Pickens County if they could find the workers. So we got to find a way to put those people to work, get them back to work. We held, as Neil said, we held tuition down again, no increases. Past CON, certificate of need has been a stumbling block to many people trying to get health care in this state for a long time. We finally got that bill passed, and I think that we're going to see a difference in the way we do health care around here. We protected life. We basically protected life twice. We sent a abortion bill. We passed an abortion bill. The Senate passed it. Went to the Supreme Court. We had a 3-2 vote. to say that it was unconstitutional. And so we came back and passed the heartbeat bill. It's now at the Supreme Court again. We've had a change in the Supreme Court justice, and we think that's going to make a difference. We're waiting. We think there's going to be some kind of ruling coming out probably by the end of fall on that. But we feel very comfortable where we are in that issue. But hopefully they'll sign that. If that doesn't get signed, it's going to be a sad day in South Carolina because we have become an abortion destination, and the Supreme Court ruled against us. I mean, we intercepted an email from Florida that Planned Parenthood in Florida sent an email, and we got hold of it. It simply said, "Hey, look, you can't get your abortion there. Don't worry, we'll bust you up to Charleston." And so that's. I don't know what your prayer life is like, but if you are a prayer, you believe in God, you believe in Jesus Christ, I ask you to pray for that issue because it's very, very critical that the Supreme Court rule in our favor on that heartbeat bill. I vote to ban abortion every time I can. I've been there 19 years, and I think, I mean, somebody check me if you want to. I believe I voted to ban abortion. Every single bill that's come across there, I think I voted for it. We need to ban abortion today. But we also understand where we are when it comes to our votes. And so if we can save 83% of all lives, I'm willing to vote to save 83% of all babies as opposed to none. And so that's what the heartbeat bill does. So we're hoping that when that ruling comes out, hopefully in the fall, that it'll be in our favor. And the governor's already said, "Hey, look, that'll be instituted immediately." We expanded school choice. We need to continue to work on that. We certainly need to have our parents more involved in our students' education. Constitutional carry has been passed by the House several times. My good friend Rex Rice is going to take care of that next session. And if he doesn't in January, I can holler at him instead of us because he's in charge of that now. Sitting over at his lap. He's promised us that he will vote for it, and we know he will. So we penalize fentanyl trafficking. There's one of the strongest laws in the United States now implemented in South Carolina when it comes to trafficking fentanyl. We all know that's a major issue, and we feel like we've put some strong teeth into our legislation. But overall, it's a good year. Still got work to do. We'll see what we can do come January.
Thank you, Davey. David and the rest of the guys up here covered a lot of the ground that I was going to cover. I'm going to speak. I'm just going to talk about a few bills that we passed and were signed into law this year. Not in any particular order. They're actually in an order. The order is by the bill number as it was introduced. The ignition interlock device, trying to cut down on the DUI deaths, requiring somebody that has been charged with DUI to have an interlock system on their vehicle to keep them from driving, hopefully keep them from driving drunk, killing somebody. David mentioned the school choice, the education scholarship trust fund. We passed that to allow low-income students to have a choice in where they go to school. Voter education, we've got probably more boats in Pickens County, or between Oconee and Pickens County, probably more boats on lakes than anywhere else in the state, and we're going to require, I can't remember the date, but basically it's somebody that's under the age of 21 and up would have to, or down, so younger. From that point on, they would have to have a voter education certificate before they can operate a boat on the lake. The shield law, while we talk about life, and Davey's right about the abortion issue, hopefully we can get that taken care of. We've had a situation where those on death row that have been convicted and sentenced to death, we have not been able to carry out that sentence. We passed a shield law this year that would allow it's basically a cocktail that could be used, a chemical cocktail, that it would not be subject to the Freedom of Information Act. So it would protect the company that creates that cocktail. Certificate of need, they mentioned that earlier. We passed that. Hopefully that'll reduce the cost of health care. One thing that, if y'all remember last year, there was people shooting at the utility substations and putting them out. We passed a law on that to strengthen the law on that, and somebody does that. We passed a DHEC restructuring bill. One bill that I sponsored that had somebody call me. I think it's important to know that you can call us at any time and say we've got an issue and it needs to be addressed. It's a neonatal testing bill for an infant, and the DHEC said that information can only be given to the primary care physician of that child, even the day after it was born, and this would allow a specialist to also have that information to treat that child. That may change that child's life just a day or two. So worth of treatment can make a lot of difference in that child's life when they're newborn. That pretty much, I've got a whole list up here of items, but I think we're here to hear from you also. So, Bill.
Thank you. It's tough for me to concentrate because my baby's leaning over the balcony here. All right, moving to public comment. Councilman Sager.
I want to thank you, first of all. I haven't spoken here in a couple of years. First of all, I want to thank you on cutting the income tax rate from 7% on the way down to 6%. I think that's very good. Second thing is cutting the manufacturing assessed ratio, which was 10.5%. You're going to cut it. You cut it already to an effective rate of 6%. That was huge. We had 114 companies in Pickens County that were paying 10.5%. Dave, you did a great job of putting together the Trump rally, along with Barry Crawford in the city of Pickens. You did very well. The number one issue in Pickens County right now is there's way too much growth. Instead of encouraging growth and trying to collect as much government revenue as possible, the primary concern needs to be the quality of life of the people that live here now, our constituents, not someone who may move here a year from now or may move here, a couple of years from now. The county council had an opportunity to take a strong stand on this issue last year by protecting scenic Highway 11, and missed that opportunity, unfortunately, in my opinion. By allowing new manufacturing and allowing new commercial establishments all along the scenic highway. That's permitted. When the first dollar store shows up on Highway 11, people are going to have a stroke. And people are going to be very unhappy about that, but unfortunately that's what was passed. Simply put, most elected officials in this county don't realize that growth is now a 4-letter word. It's going to take some time to educate. And I'll give you some examples. At the county level, they proposed and the Planning Commission approved RVs becoming permanent homes in this county. That's a bad idea. Who wants to live in a neighborhood that's scattered with RVs that people live there forever? Also, as the price of homes rise, people are going to put RVs in their backyards and they're going to rent them out. That's going to be an unintended consequence of that. They don't realize it. It was also proposed and the Planning Commission has approved allowing tiny homes and tiny home subdivisions. When people realize they can't live in 600 square feet, their stuff's all over the lawn. And I've seen it myself. These areas will become magnets, and in time they're going to become our slums. So if you have a chance to speak to any of the councilmen about this, I hope you'll strongly oppose what's on the drawing board. I believe that 1,000 square foot home, stick-built, should be the minimum standard. The way you can help is Easley and Clemson are now ground zero for all the growth that's happening here. If you look at the map of the city of Easley, it looks like a 20-armed octopus. And it's because all the annexing that they're doing. The state sets those laws and needs to limit the city's ability to grow and annex. But a lot of times it seems like a developer will come in, meet with the city, they agree for annexation, and it happens. It's kind of leaving a lot of people out in the cold. I hope you'll take a look at restricting the ability of cities with annexation growing on their own. And I just have one question, if you can answer when you get a chance, is what's the status of Cannon Hospital in Pickens, and will a new hospital open in Central? Because that's what the rumor that I heard.
I can answer that. I met with the city not too long ago. There, Canton Hospital stayed put. They're gonna do some renovations. They still own that property in Central. And that property across from Walmart on 123. They still own that property. They have not taken it off the drawing board, but as of right now, they're gonna stay put as to where they are going to make some renovations to the Canton Hospital in Pickens.
Do you know what they're gonna do with that property down in Central? Are they gonna build a hospital there?
That's the 123 across from Walmart. They're gonna hold on to the property right now. They haven't made any decisions as to what they're gonna do. But as of right now, they're not gonna build.
Okay, but the significant and need repeal would help them, right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
But they are, right now, they're just gonna put some renovations on the existing Canton Hospital. Period.
Okay, good, that's good news.
You mentioned the annexation law. Do you have a suggestion on how to change the annexation law?
I have no idea. I just know it's a bad idea.
You
I know
will
what
see it change
to do on
before
Highway
now.
11, and I know what to do in Pickens County for all those.
Well, if you have,
I haven't studied it.
if you have suggestions, obviously, I mentioned a minute ago, we write laws, a lot of them are based on something the constituent brings to us. So it would help us if you have, that's not something that we get into.
Let me give you an example. I'll give you a perfect example. The city of Clemson, I think it was the mayor, comes to us on county council about a year ago and wants us to get involved in some road thing with him and road money. And I say, you know what the problem is? You guys spend so much time annexing property and growing, and you grow beyond your means, that you don't have the infrastructure to support it. And then you come to the county. And I can tell you that's happening now with sewer. The county has a sewer plant. It's called the 18-mile sewer plant, which is the middle plant. And there's an agreement between Central and Liberty and the county. And Clemson wants to get involved in that because they want to get into that plant now. They got a plant down in Pendleton. That's typically where they've gone. Now they want to get into our plant too, which we're evaluating. But it's all because they've over-permitted what they have because they're growing so quickly. They just see the money. They don't. That's what I'm trying to change. See the people that live here. See the constituents we have and what they're facing in their declining quality of life. Let's not worry about just getting that extra dollar. And Clemson's a good example. There's two examples of that happen right there.
If we introduce a piece of legislation, we'll obviously have a lot of debate on that. The Association of Counties probably would weigh in one way. The Municipal Association will weigh in another way. So, if you have ideas on that, let us know.
Yeah, like I said, I can see the negatives. I mean, Central and Clemson basically touch now. It seems out of control.
Mr. Councilman, so, but your recommendation is to limit, restrict the ability for cities to annex?
Yeah, with that, like, for example, it seems to me that, a developer gets together with the city and they annex. I mean, it doesn't matter how strong and restrictive we are in the county. If the city rules are less restrictive, they'll go into the city. And they'll go that way, the path of least resistance. I don't know all the details immediately, but I suspect that may be happening while they're growing so rapidly. And it's just, it's a nightmare now, going too easily at certain times. That's why I was a supporter of not widening 183. I was a supporter of widening Highway 8 coming out of Anderson, because if you look at where all the subdivisions are going, that's where they're going. And by the time that road gets widened, how's it going to be there? It's really not up in the 183.
So the cities can go around you, the county.
Yeah, we can put real strict restrictions in the county, but the city can then just annex that in with the developer and then just.
Okay, I follow, all right.
That makes sense? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Janelle, right?
First of all, Neil, thank you for answering this question. Last time you had this, you wouldn't answer my question. You said we were just here to listen. So I really appreciate the fact that you're answering and letting people answer on the board up here. Thank you for that, Neil. Charles Spurgeon, a well-known Baptist preacher in London, used the phrase, "What would Jesus do?" in a sermon he gave in June of 1891. And in the 1990s, bracelets became popular with the acronym WWJD, which stood for the question we all need to be asking before we address any situation. What would Jesus do?
You all profess to be Christians. You all swore an oath to preserve and protect the Constitution. Are any of you truly adhering to critically asking yourself before you vote or propose legislation, what would Jesus do? Are you asking yourself if you are preserving, protecting, and defending the Constitution, so help me God? It doesn't seem so to your constituents. I brought all of you a WWJD bracelet today. I know I personally do not ask this question enough before I act. So I'm wearing my bracelet to remind me. And I hope you'll wear yours. I recently put a survey question on Facebook for conservatives of the upstate, simply asking people to comment on what their top 3 concerns they want you all in Columbia to push and accomplish. Here are the top concerns mentioned: closed primaries, judicial reform, abortion reform, fix the roads, paper ballots, end CRT and LGBTQ indoctrination in our public schools, end state income tax and property tax, constitutional carry, term limits, gold-backed currency, and tax credits for parental choice of classical education for their child instead of an aligned to Common Core test and curriculum schools. What would Jesus do about these top concerns of we the people? Are you guys really listening to your constituents' concerns, or just doing what you think is best for you and the lobbyists? We the people are not swayed by any of these mail-outs you send out claiming you did this or you did that. We know what watered-down legislation looks like. Many of you vote for watered-down versions of legislation that address our concerns, but capitulate time and time again with Democrats. Democrats are the same party who in 2012 wanted to remove God from their platform and are for the murdering of innocent blood in the womb. This bracelet does not say, what would Democrats do? You will be replaced if you keep ignoring we the people. We are praying for each one of you at least twice a week at Praying in Pickens. Once on Thursday mornings, 9 a.m. at Cafe Connections, and once at the courthouse at 9:30 a.m. on Saturdays. We would love to see you there when your schedule permits. Thank you.
Thank you, Ned. Next up is Luke Campbell.
Good evening, good evening. Numbers are everything. I'm an engineer, I know that. Did you know that something's going on with what Janelle just said? There's a recent Facebook poll talking about the second most important.
I'm sorry, could you speak up a little bit?
Yes, it was too far away. Thank you, sorry about that. The second most important issue is judicial reform. And did you know that South Carolina has more trial lawyers in the legislature than any other state in the nation? Did you know that South Carolina is the only state in the entire nation whereby the entire judicial candidates go through a screening process with zero transparency, and then they're elected by the same trial lawyer legislatures? I'm curious as to where you'll stand on reforming this judicial system. I think that was one of the things that Janelle mentioned a minute ago. The number one concern is the closed primaries, which we do not have. Republicans pretty consistently run on closing primaries, but for some reason there hasn't been any success on that. Perhaps the opportunity for Democrats to vote in the primaries is the reason why we pick South Carolina the most liberal or blue state in the nation. Blue, red state. Did you know that all of our neighboring and other red states have tighter abortion restriction laws in South Carolina, even if the heartbeat bill goes into action? Again, which gets back to the judges, which are chosen and who are allowed to make decisions countering the stuff that you attempt to put in the law. And South Carolina has the highest state income tax in the Southeast, but it's the third friendliest in the nation for big corporation taxes, giving huge tax breaks to big corporations. And did you know that while many in the upstate struggle to buy bread and eggs, which have gone up a lot, South Carolina's state budget, it's already been mentioned, it's grown by a whopping 13%. And there's money for orangutan enclosures and wine and food festivals and DEI in our state universities. There's another $1.3 billion to the woke foreign company coming to produce electric vehicles. Make no mistake, when they come in from the outside, they're filled with ESG. It's built into their structure, and that's something that we're going to have to deal with once they're here. So that social governance stuff, which is a proven failure for control of everyone, is not a good thing. I know that there has been progress in this. Thanks for reducing the taxes. There's more income than you've had in years past. It's been stated by several of you up there. It's great. Okay, don't go bananas. The taxes can continue to go down if the income is there. Things can still be cut instead of increased. Right now, Pickens School Board is in a lawsuit for following law, deeming a book as inappropriate and no educational value. And it was removed from the classroom in school libraries. That, of course, is underway, as you probably know. But numbers are everything. I'm curious as to how many of you, our Pickens County delegates, have written a formal statement to school board members supporting them for adhering to the laws which you put in, which the people want. I think Amy and Betty are the only two school members here tonight, but that's a very difficult burden. They've tried very hard to make sure every single student is treated the same. There's no more, there's no less, but they need encouragement to know that they've tried to act according to law, and yet we have these kinds of things in front of us. Gentlemen, we hear you, what you say, and we read the postcards and the things that you talk about your accomplishments, and they are, okay? There are positive things happening, okay? I would agree with some of the others that it needs to be more. There's good stuff. The heartbeat bill is good. 83% is good. Certainly better than 0. Okay, or any other lower number. Let's go for 100. That's where we need to be, 100%. Except, that's just one of the many bills. As you have a few months to reflect on your voting record and your power of persuasion, or lack of persuasion, I pray that you remember who you represent. Pickens County is very much a rural county, which we would like to have it stay that way. Growth is going to happen. The question is how far flung, how fast. But it's a rural county. It loves traditional values, not woke values. It likes a simple lifestyle, transparency and honesty. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Mr. Temple.
Yes.
Next is Aaron Petrella. Not here again. Next up is Rachel Cox.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. I know you give up many evenings and weekends in service to the people of this state, and I thank you for your efforts. I know you are in the legislature because you believe in a better tomorrow. I ask you with the decisions that come before you to consider carefully not just those who you may hear tonight and whose faces and names you know, and not just those who may have voted for you, but all South Carolinians. You represent all the people of the state. You are not doctors, you are not teachers, you are not librarians, you are legislators. And with every decision that comes before you, I ask you to consider many different perspectives. I recently spent 2 weeks in our nation's capital through a program of the National Endowment for the Humanities. I visited several sites important to our nation's history, including Mount Vernon, Ford's Theater, Clara Barton's Missing Soldiers Office, Arlington House, and several sites that help us to remember and interpret that past, including the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, the Korean War Veterans Memorial, the Museum of African American History and Culture, the American Indian Museum, and the Holocaust Museum. I also visited the National Archives, which, as you know, houses our Constitution and Bill of Rights. I believe very strongly in the importance of teaching history. Last legislative session, Bill 3728 made it through both the House and the Senate, although neither agreed on the other's version. I ask you to vote no on that bill. We need to, and Representative Collins, I know you're serving on a South Carolina 250 commission. You recognize the importance of knowing our history, all of our history. Our history should not be censored, and it is important that we recognize what happened in the past. In terms of bills, other laws that you consider passing, I ask you to consider unintended consequences that may result from the laws that you pass. Sometimes I ask you to put loyalty to a party aside for loyalty to the state. We need to do things that will work in the best interest of this state. Unintended consequences can arise from bills that try to suppress the teaching of our nation's history. Those consequences can include consequences such as lawsuits and additional burdens based on school systems. I thank the speaker who spoke about your vow to uphold the Constitution, and as you know, the Constitution also includes freedom of speech as well as freedom of religion. And our state constitution specifically spells out that public money should not be used for private institutions. And our state constitution also upholds a right to privacy. I ask you to think about the words of the Constitution in every decision that you make, and I also ask you to think about all people of the state in your decisions. And Representative Carter, I thank you for your call for compassion and wisdom, and may that guide you in your decisions. I know the decisions you make every day are not easy. I ask you to leave room for nuance and different perspectives and less rigidity. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. All right, that's the end of those who have signed up to speak. But has anybody failed to write their names down that wishes to speak to us, or anybody wish to speak after hearing discussion tonight? Going once? Oh, yes. This one.
Thank you, guys, for holding this meeting, giving everybody the opportunity to speak and to address you guys with their concerns and everything. And I was hoping, the reason why I didn't sign up earlier is I was hoping to be able to do a little more research into it before I spoke on it. But I do want to make this known to you. And I don't know all the laws pertaining to it. I know Mr. Beach here has put forth some bills and some stuff about protection of our children and stuff from some adult things and so on. And something that we have found locally here recently, just by accident, in our local Walmart, is something that's disturbing to me. My wife had carried my daughter to the store to get some Band-Aids. And she turned around and said to my wife, she said, hey Mom, why are they selling these here? Turned around and in the section, I don't know if there's little children here, selling adult toys in an open case, high level. Right there were 7, 8-year-olds. Can see it, 5, 6-year-olds. You know, I mean, these things have places. You know, that's what the adult stores are for. You know, I don't know if there's any laws in regard to those things being out in the open, where little children can see these things just walking down the red and mile Walmart. You know, but they're in all of them. We've been to 3 of them so far that we've scoped out, been able to see. I've got pictures on my phone I took them, so if you want to see, you know, what kind of things they are. And these things are disturbing to me. You know, that we can have 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds trying to see these things. We want to protect our children, right? You know, these things are things that we want to protect them from. And that's just what's on my heart. So thank you. BJ Sutherland.
What store did you see?
Walmart in Berea, Walmart in Powdersville, Walmart in Easley. We haven't had a chance to check the Walmart Pickens.
But it's all Walmarts.
Every one we've been to, right by the pharmacy section with the
Next to Food
And I don't, short of getting into details, if you'll send us enough information, and I make a motion that this delegation write a letter to Walmart Public Relations and tell them we do not appreciate it. And I, you know, we need enough details so that we can send it. But it sounds like to me they need to rethink what their marketing schemes are on that issue.
Yeah, I mean, if they sell them, you know, have it where the kids can't see it. You know, have stuff like that where the kids can't see it. You know? I mean, my opinion, this is my opinion, but that's the reason why those stores exist, you know? If they decide to sell stuff such as that, I might not agree with it, that stuff can be hidden away from the view, you know?
I agree, not that I really want to look at what they are.
Exactly.
I will say this, if you'll send us enough information and list the Walmarts,
I will.
and we can say that you don't have to go to check any of it. Just send it to us and we'll write a letter.
Okay.
The entire Pickens delegation. I don't think anybody would object us signing on that. Send some of the pictures.
Yeah, I've got some pictures on my phone right now.
I'm pretty sure the Anderson County delegation will also agree with us on this issue. So, yeah.
Thank you.
You got a raise, didn't you?
I do. Thank you.
Andy, did you?
Uncharacteristically, I didn't prepare for this statement, so usually I think about this ahead of time, but this occurred to me, and I have you all here, so this is a great opportunity. One of the things I'm most passionate about on the school board is structured literacy. Super excited for the tremendous growth that the district has supported in that arena. Right now, Arkansas has a bill, and I talked to Rex about this. I believe it's 4434. I'll double check on that for you because, as I said, I didn't do a lot of research ahead of time. On the paper that I actually wrote, it was like a number 8 font, and I tried to give that to Rex a couple of years ago. The font was like 3 or 4 pages long. But the gist of it is, in the state of Arkansas, if you graduate with a teaching degree in a state college, you have to have structured literacy kind of in your toolbox of teaching skills. In order to be able to teach in a public school in the state of Arkansas. So if you want to be an elementary school teacher, when you go to a state college supported by Arkansas state funds, you learn structured literacy. So 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, we still haven't passed any legislation like that. And I was just curious, I'm sure you're up on this, Neil. Mississippi is absolutely doing fabulously in terms of their reading scores. Tennessee is surging ahead, Florida is surging ahead. They're all surging ahead with structured literacy techniques. Have we thought about anything like that? Passing legislation that mandates if you go to a teaching college, you learn structured literacy when you're in college. The benefit here is we've got really great teachers who are willing to basically go take a master's level course when after they have families and children, they're trying to raise their family, and they're going back for this education. Really, they should get it when they're in college. That would help our teachers, and I think it would vastly help our students to have every teacher armed with these excellent skills. So those are my thoughts on that.
Thank you for that. I guess just real briefly on it, I think with this new administration under Ellen Weaver, phonics is going to be a key point for her in the new administration. But of course, turning that whole ship around is a long process, and you're correct in that anything taught should be there at the higher ed level, but getting them to agree as well is turning the ship as well. So yes, people have been talking about it ever since I've been in for 9 years now. I think you're going to see the most change towards that under Ellen Weaver, and we'll see how it goes.
Is there anyone that I know I've talked to Sally Coffin, I've talked to anyone who speaks to me, is there anyone that I could even give testimony about my own child, or speak to them about some of the research I've done, or the other bills around the country?
I think if there's legislation that you see that's important, I could point you to some people that may be obstacles. I don't know anybody up here that will be obstacles to it. I would say, let's see what Ellen and the department do at this point. I know they're doing a number of different pilots, and I think Pickens may be part of it, of moving the state and changing the state towards a more phonic-focused state.
I know we're leading the way. Last question. There's someone from Easley who's on a board that represents the education committee, right? And I don't know who that person is. I've tried to find out, tried to get their contact number. To make a pitch.
Whittemore was on the state board, he's no longer.
He's no longer, yeah.
Correct.
Bumped into him in public, but
Yeah, it's a Greenville appointee right now. We alternate between Greenville and Pickens, and David actually served actually much longer than he was supposed to.
well, if you could reach out to him to contact the Greenville.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? All right, well, as Senator Rice mentioned, I think you have not only us, but the rest of the delegation, some of the most transparent people you can possibly imagine. I think everybody in here, if you go on our texts, our cell numbers, social media, emails, all the ways you can get in touch with us, we welcome it. With that, anything from the delegation for this? All right, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.